Hi everyone, welcome to series 3 of our talent interviews, and I'm really excited about this interview today because we are talking with Matt Hassey from Horsefly. Hopefully a lot of our audience will understand who Horsefly are, but Matt will introduce himself in a moment. And we have partnered with Horsefly since they were created probably about 5 years now, isn't it, Matt?
Certainly has, yeah, that's right.
And what Horsefly do is provide sort of market intel from a candidate perspective. And my favourite quote about data, specifically in relation to recruitment, because we use the data from Horsefly to influence our hiring managers, is without the data, it's just an opinion. So I'll hand over to Matt to introduce himself, and then we'll go through and I'll ask you sort of questions, Matt, around what we think is topical at the moment in relation to recruitment data. So over to you.
Yeah, and I just want to say thanks for the long-term partnership. The team that you've got is brilliant, very innovative, and yeah, it's always a pleasure to work with good businesses like yourselves. So thank you very much. And yeah, I'm Matthew Hassey. I've been working for Horsefly for close to 10 years. We was a company called Jobs the Word before we developed Horsefly. But Horsefly's been the one that's added a lot of value to many different businesses. So I manage obviously Sericor, Optimore. I manage the likes of Lloyds Banking Group, Corn Ferry, lots of different companies in different sectors, helping them to become experts. And like Zoe said, you know, having data to remove those opinions and add that credibility and trust is what we're all about. So yeah, pleasure to be on today.
Brilliant, thank you, Matt. Well, we'll start off with our first question. So we often get asked this by clients as well. You know, when you are a service provider in the recruitment world, our clients come to us as like a trusted advisor. You know, we should be able to articulate what is going on in the marketplace at the moment. So could you tell us, as a lot of our candidates and clients will be interested, is how the market is differing from 2023 to the start of 2024, and trends that you would like to kind of talk to us about?
Yeah, absolutely. So first and foremost, it's been a tough 12 months for a lot of us. But what we are seeing is there is a positive shift. And one of the big things came from a survey from Manpower, where they compared January last year to January this year, and there's a plus 27% outlook in terms of companies looking to expand as opposed to planning to downsize. And the difference compared to last year was 1% increase last year. So we are seeing that there's a positive shift, which is great news. What we are seeing from a lot of our clients and is that it's the RPO and recruitment that is kind of recruitment agency world that is getting more busy at the moment, rather than teams growing the in-house talent acquisition again. So we are seeing that recruitment agencies and RPOs certainly getting a lot more bids and tenders this year compared to last quarter of 2023. So we are seeing those trends, which is really good for you guys. And we do expect that the market will continue to pick up. One big topic that keeps on coming up this year, it's probably one of the most important ones, is skills-based hiring. Yeah. So we are seeing that a lot of companies are looking at moving away from the traditional job title-based hiring to skills-based hiring. Have you had that sort of chat yourself with your clients, Zoe?
Oh, definitely. And I think, you know, we have a large amount of defence clients within our organisation, and they're looking for people to come in out of side of that sector and join that sector who have got those skills. But also when we're looking at internal mobility, it's our clients understanding what skills they have internally. So what can they utilise for any future growth internally first prior to going external?
Yeah, absolutely. It's very across all sectors. So I've got a couple of examples. One of our financial services clients pretty much said in a review meeting a couple of months ago that within the next 12 to 18 months, there'll be no longer hiring by job titles. It will just be skills-based hiring. So it's quite a big transformation that's going to happen, and I expect that the rest of the market is going to follow suit. The big challenge around that, though, is it's not easy. It is quite a big shift. So having data to support those kind of strategies will be really, really important. There's also talk around like adjacent skills. And again, one of our examples was with a client within the medical device space who was looking at kind of building a pipeline of very niche skills such as TensorFlow and PyTorch across many different locations. And they wanted to understand what the market looks like for those types of skill sets in high cost countries like they're in, such as the US, the UK, versus maybe the likes of India, Mexico, Romania, etc. And what we identified using our data is actually for the key skills that they wanted, which was PyTorch and TensorFlow, is those low cost locations were not viable because those skill sets didn't actually exist in those locations. There's a very small talent pool. However, looking at those adjacent skills where you can say, well, what are the closely relevant terms to TensorFlow or PyTorch? How can you then build that talent pool? And putting in things like NumPy, which is a very similar type of skill set, suddenly increased the talent pool in these locations, which made them viable then. So I think those adjacent skills are going to be really popular as well. How can we kind of look at transferable skill sets? Do we build, borrow, buy? Those are the strategies that I think are going to be important this year for sure.
That's great, brilliant. That is really interesting because, you know, when we're looking at technical skill sets as well, I think it's looking not at the finished article, but how you can recruit the next layer down, and then upskill them within your own organisation. And that also looks at when we're looking at salary ranges and things like that, opens up a whole different talent pool. So yeah, that's brilliant. Okay, question I'm going to ask you is
where a few slides to show around longitudinal data, which is a new feature in Horsefly, but it shows you what the market trends are over the last 3 years and potentially what the future looks like as well. So so let's start with the UK, shall we? So one thing we have been analysing is what markets were very good through 2023 and also what markets were quite challenging. So this is looking at the renewable energy and green sector. And this was one of not many, this was probably one of the only sectors in the UK that stayed strong throughout 2023. So you can see at one point, you know, July 2020, there wasn't much of a focus on this. I think we were all going through times of COVID. However, since then, you know, there has been a real increase in demand for renewable energy skills and
the demand, Matt, just for the audience, the demand is when we are looking at what jobs are being advertised in this sector. Yeah, absolutely.
It's the number of jobs in the platform in any given month over the last 3 years that we're looking at. So where it's highest is when the demand has been the highest.
Wow.
And as a result of that, the people per job is always lowest. So when the demand is high, it's going to be more competitive to recruit and more challenging as well. Dropped a little bit since 2024. However, again, we are predicting with the election and everything else that's going on, that kind of topic is going to become more and more important over the next 12 months. So we'll see how that goes and we'll monitor that. Another sector in the US, which is booming at the moment, is the healthcare sector. There's a lot of clients who we've got in the US who are heavily focused on recruitment for healthcare or bids, tenders within that space in the US. And we have one of the advisors to our board, which is Craig Fisher in the US, who's CEO of TalentNet Media. But he was talking about some of the big challenges within healthcare and the demand. And our data reflects that we're going to see, you know, 2024 being one of the biggest peaks in demand over the last 4 years or so. So again, it's a good sector for you guys to consider.
Definitely.
As well.
Brilliant. Thank you, Matt. Let's talk around the next hot topic, which many companies have opted for the return to the office kind of strategy for more collaboration or for whatever reason. But we know from a candidate perspective, this is high on their list of priorities when they're looking for new employment. Does that company offer hybrid? Have I got more flexibility than what I'm experiencing at the moment? So are there any trends that you can share with us from the remote hybrid working, since it's now 4 years since we all got sent to work from home in 2020?
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, this is looking at home-based employment to begin with, and what you can see with home-based, you know, it certainly has increased over the years, where, you know, demand for home-based was highest around July 2020, 2022, shall I say. However, again, for home-based employment, what we have seen is a steady decline over the last few years, where there's less businesses who are looking for their staff to be permanently home-based. And what we have seen, though, however, is the hybrid market has massively increased. So if you look at during COVID, obviously there was no hybrid; it was just being at home. But this word appearing in jobs over the last 3 years has massively increased since around you know, December 2021. And you can see how the peak was again last year around June, July 2023. It has dropped off again, but it's nowhere near the kind of drop off of home-based employment. So I do feel like we're probably going to sit around this kind of 50-50
Yeah,
between people back in the office and that hybrid approach. Now, for me
yeah,
personally, I think hybrid is the right method going forward. I think trying to get people back in the office 5 days a week is really challenging. You know, we've had customers where they struggle to fill roles because they're in the middle of nowhere and they're looking for very niche skill sets. And the hybrid / remote work and opportunities has helped them with their hiring strategies and to build the pipeline that they need. If they go back due to kind of the movement around what leadership teams want, it could bring those challenges back as well. So I think flexibility is the key for this year and
yeah.
hopefully for the foreseeable as well.
Brilliant, thank you. And Matt, I mean, we could talk around hybrid and home working for hours because it is a really interesting and topical topic. So
Yeah.
we're now going to move on to a demonstration that Matt's going to show us. So all of this information that Matt is showing us is within the Horsefly tool, and EDI is another hot topic within the hiring process, and we are asked, you know, numerous times from our clients around how we can improve this for their organization. How can we you know, impact attracting a diverse workforce right from the start and things like that. So if you can have demo what information that Horsefly can give, that would be really great.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the key thing for this subject is there's so much work that can be done. But where I think data can come into play is helping you to set realistic expectations around what the market looks like. You know, if you're looking for a balanced shortlist of male and female for tech, for example, is that achievable when it's only 16% female for cloud-based skills in London, as an example? So it's about managing expectations. It's also looking at your location strategies as well. You know, if you have got multiple sites, what sites are the best locations to focus your recruitment attraction, etc., to build that diverse talent pool. And again, going back to one of our financial services clients, they've got sites all over the UK, and using this type of data within the diversity and inclusion team, they were able to identify that, you know, potential locations are going to kind of block the progress made for hiring a diverse talent pool, etc., and building that diverse workforce. So, you know, this is looking at cloud-based skills, and you can see that London, it's 16% female, 58% of 8 years plus experience, and you can also see the ethnicity breakdown for London, which is quite a diverse location. One of their big sites within the financial services client was Edinburgh, and they did a hell of a lot of hiring in Edinburgh for the last few years. But what they identified using our data was actually, compared to other locations, Edinburgh for tech talent is not the most diverse. So this will load up in a second or two, and you'll be able to see what that looks like. So it's actually only 13% female.
Wow.
And actually it's 88% white. It's definitely worth kind of considering locations. And I know that you help your clients with that as well, Zoe.
Definitely. And the quote, you know, I often quote as well to our clients, because a lot of them recruit in the software engineer space, which is predominantly 20% women, 80% men. It's around, let's start off at the early career stage. because that's actually what we can influence. So I can't change that 20% of that are qualified, experienced women, but you as a client, you can influence what career women go into right from school age. So that we often talk around those, have those types of conversation around what and also when it comes to targets as well, that sometimes companies set these targets, but actually it like you say, it's unrealistic because you can't change the facts around the talent pool. So we use this the tool to do exactly that.
Yeah, and just to touch on what you said there around that kind of looking at early careers, etc. This is where the data can really back that up as well. So let's look at a data engineer as an example, and let's look at people with 8 years plus experience, and let's actually look at the diversity for that type of talent pool. So if I'm looking at a data engineer now with just 8 years plus experience, there's 10,000 across the UK. So there's the healthiest talent pool for sure, but it's only 11% female. Okay, and this is the kind of ethnicity breakdown across the UK. Now, if I go back and start saying, well, let's look at people with 0 to 3 years experience now, people who are more fresh into the industry. And what you'll probably notice is a lot of the movement that companies have been doing around diversity, it's only going to kind of see the benefits at this kind of level, not the 8 years plus, because that's not going to change, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So if you look at those people with 0 to 3 years experience, it's actually 20%.
That's the 20% mark. Yeah.
For data engineers. There's a big difference of like what 9%, which is huge. So that's then about educating your hiring managers around, well, why are you always looking for someone with 20 years plus experience or 15 years plus experience? Why don't you look at someone that you could potentially hire who's fresh out of university or first or second job, and you can upskill and offer them a career development program? And leading on to that as well, what's interesting is if I just look at data engineers across the board, with all levels of experience, one amazing strategy that I would really recommend to all clients and businesses is look at how you can combine this type of data with internal mobility and career development programs. So as an example, if I look at the 17,000 people here for data engineers, what you can look at is what is the type of career path that they take. So where do they go to, and where they're coming from. So if I click this button here, you can see that data engineers have become senior data engineers or data scientists, for example, right? But actually, if I go backwards, data engineers have actually come from like a development background or data analyst background or data science background. But let's just focus on this data analyst. So if you look at the gender breakdown for a data engineer, it's currently 14% overall, okay? If I then look at a data analyst, 37% female, and this is the kind of that they will go into. So the conversation then to your business is, what if we can hire data analysts who potentially have got the potential to become data engineers, but if we hire here first and upskill them, chances are it's going to be cheaper for you. There'll be more people available as well, but actually it's going to really improve your diversity as well. So this type of data is really important for a lot of our clients to build this type of strategy and provide insight to the business that they've not really had before as well.
That's fantastic. And that leads us really nicely on to the next question, Matt, which is our final question of today's interview. Again, we often get asked this from clients as well. And as an organisation, providing recruitment services, we have to be the ones that say, okay, this is what we're going to do at the moment. If recruitment is, if most companies are recruiting for backfills only, then what are we going to do as their partner to assist them for when growth is ready? So that when they're ready to grow, sorry, I should say. So when the market's quiet, how can businesses use data to get ahead of their competitors?
Yeah, for sure. So I think the biggest one is the longitudinal data that I've been walking you through today. That type of information is very important to provide to C-suite and leadership. And the reason for that is you've got to kind of think about it differently. Whilst the market is quiet, do you just keep going and just backfilling, or do you take advantage of a market downturn? And when you can see the demand reducing in tech, for example, that is, for me, a brilliant opportunity to start looking at what roles you need over the next 12, 18, 24 months. and press go sooner rather than later, because you'll take advantage of that market being quiet. Salaries will be more competitive for you. Whereas when there's a new peak in demand, what's going to happen is it's going to be more difficult to fill your roles because the demand is through the roof. Candidates will be king again, and salaries are just going to go north. So it's about leveraging that type of data to share some insights and say, well, look, if we are planning to hire, let's hire now. I would constantly be building a pipeline of people as well as a partner. So constantly look at how you can build that pipeline. Look at your internal mobility as well, that career pathing. The last thing you want to do during this type of time is lose your most valuable assets. So look at your internal movement, look at how you can retain your workforce, how you can offer them career development programs to reduce attrition. But again, it's about that skills kind of change as well. What type of skills do you have in your business currently where you could potentially move them into different parts of the organization to build the products that you need, etc. So I would definitely look at internal mobility at this time as well.
That's brilliant. Thank you, Matt. So many insightful topics as well. And I think it's great to speak to an expert like you, and also great for our audience to see how they can utilize this tool in maybe such a different way. I know my teams use it sometimes at briefing stage, or they'll use it when we're looking at clients that want to build areas in different locations, and we've absolutely influenced the client with doing that as well, moving from one location to another just based upon the size of the talent pool available. So it's definitely something that we find invaluable, really, to back up people's opinions.
Remove that kind of opinion. So no,
exactly.
It's a pleasure working with your team, as I've always said. And data is key for kind of building these strategies. Without it, it's just my opinion versus yours, and they can clash at times, So yeah, I'm glad it's your favourite quote because it's mine as well. So.
Yay! Brilliant. Thanks ever so much, Matt.
Take it easy, Zoe. Okay.